Think about it for a second. When was the last time you really stopped and asked yourself where all your energy is going? Because if he's not chasing you the way he used to, chances are you've been chasing him without even realizing it. You've been over-investing, over-giving, and over-explaining, and the truth is that kind of energy doesn't pull a man closer. It pushes him away. Men are drawn to the light, not the weight. And when all of your focus is wrapped around what he's doing, what he's thinking, or how he's responding, you start to dim that light without even knowing it. Here's the thing. The version of you he fell for wasn't the one who checked his every move. It wasn't the one who worried constantly if she was doing enough. It was the version of you who had her own life, her own rhythm, her own spark. That version of you had balance, and balance is magnetic. It's time to take some of that energy you've been pouring into him and pour it right back into yourself. Because the more you give to yourself, the more radiant you become, and the more he can't help but notice the glow that first pulled him in. I'm not saying neglect him or play some cold game of indifference. I'm saying stop overextending. You don't have to text first every single time. You don't have to be available on demand. You don't have to fill the silence just to make sure he knows you're there. Give him the gift of space so he can feel the weight of your absence. And while you're giving him that space, you're filling yourself back up mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Think about the things you stopped doing because your attention shifted to him. Maybe you stopped going out with your friends. Maybe you let your hobbies slide. Maybe you lost touch with the routines that once made you feel alive. Reclaim those. Because when you show up for yourself, it sends a signal, not just to him, but to everyone around you, that you value your own time, your own joy, your own life. That is the kind of energy a man will chase every single time. Here's why this works. When he senses that you're centered, when he sees you're not desperate for his attention, his natural instinct kicks in. Men chase what they feel they could lose, and the fastest way to make him realize what he stands to lose is by showing him you're not dependent on him for your fulfillment. It shifts the dynamic back in your favor, because suddenly he has to earn the energy you're freely giving away right now. So instead of asking yourself, why isn't he chasing me? Start asking, where am I putting my energy? Because if it's all going toward him, the equation is off balance. Pull some of it back. Redirect it to your passions, your goals, your growth. That's when he looks at you and remembers why he chased you in the first place. That's when he feels the fire again, because he's reminded that you are not just a woman who wants him. You are a woman who is whole with or without him. And that, right there, is what makes him chase you like crazy again. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is thinking that once someone knows you, once they've seen your patterns, once they've read your every page, the chase is supposed to keep going on its own. But that's not how attraction works. Attraction thrives on curiosity. It thrives on the sense that there's always something new to discover. If he feels like he's figured you out completely, if he feels like he's seen every side of you, then there's no adventure left. And when there's no adventure, there's nothing to chase. Think back to when he first started pursuing you. What made him lean in? What made him want to know more? It was mystery. Not the kind of mystery that's manipulative or deceptive, but the kind of mystery that comes from layers. Your depth, your individuality, the little surprises in who you are. Back then, he couldn't predict your every move, and that unpredictability was exciting. He wanted to learn more, he wanted to uncover more, and he was pulled into that process. Somewhere along the way, though, the mystery faded, because you became predictable, because you gave too much of yourself away too easily, because you stopped leaving room for discovery. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's not about pulling away just to get a reaction. It's about reminding him and yourself that you are not a finished book. You are constantly growing, evolving, unfolding. That means not over-explaining every single thought, not announcing every single plan, not letting him assume you'll always respond, always show up, always be exactly the same. Mystery is about letting him wonder. Letting him think about you when you're not around. letting him ask himself questions instead of you giving him every answer up front. So how do you bring mystery back? You start by surprising yourself. Try new things, go new places, reconnect with parts of you that maybe you set aside. When you step outside of your comfort zone, it naturally creates curiosity. He sees you doing something different, he senses there's more to you than what he's already known, and that curiosity reignites his interest. When you keep some details of your life for yourself, not secrets, but sacred space, you create an invisible pull. He's drawn to it because he doesn't feel like he has full access. And men chase what they don't fully possess. And understand this, mystery doesn't mean silence. It means intrigue. It means you're not laying your entire soul bare every single moment, because you value the parts of you that take time to earn. If you're always available, always predictable, always broadcasting your every move, then there's nothing left for him to discover. But when you hold a little back, when you carry yourself with a quiet confidence that says, "There's more to me than what you see right now," he leans in closer, he wants to know more, he starts chasing again. Because the truth is, we're wired to pursue what feels rare, what feels layered, what feels like it has depth. And when you embrace that mystery, you remind him that you are not just the same routine, the same script, the same conversation. You are a woman with chapters he hasn't read yet. And if he wants to know those chapters, if he wants to see what's next, he's going to have to chase you to find out. Here's what most people get wrong when it comes to making a man chase again. They confuse standards with ultimatums. An ultimatum sounds like this: "If you don't do this, I'm gone." It's delivered in frustration, usually out of fear, and it comes across as a threat. Standards, on the other hand, are quiet, calm, and firm. They don't need to be shouted or thrown in someone's face. They're lived out. They're seen in the way you carry yourself, the way you respond, the way you choose what you will and will not allow into your life. The reality is, men don't chase what feels forced, but they will chase what they respect. Respect comes from consistency. Respect comes from clarity. Respect comes from the subtle but powerful message that you value yourself enough not to settle for anything less than the treatment you deserve. When a man sees that in you, it shifts the dynamic immediately. He understands that if he wants a place in your life, he's going to have to rise to your level. Let's be honest. Sometimes he's not chasing because he doesn't feel he has to. You've shown him that you'll keep showing up no matter how little effort he puts in. You've shown him that your attention and your love are guaranteed. That's not a standard. That's a free pass, and free passes kill pursuit. What brings pursuit back is when you start showing, not telling, that you don't operate on those terms anymore. So instead of nagging him about not calling, you just stop overextending. Instead of repeating the same complaints about how he doesn't make time, you start making time for yourself and stop being so readily available for his last-minute plans. Instead of saying, "I need you to do this," you let your actions make it clear that you are not sticking around for less than what you know you deserve. That's not anger. That's not bitterness. That's simply a standard. And here's the thing. Standards aren't just about him. They're about you. They protect your energy. They protect your peace. They remind you of your worth even when his behavior makes you question it. Standards make you magnetic because they signal self-respect and self-respect. Respect is one of the most attractive qualities you can carry. It's not about punishing him. It's about positioning yourself. Because when you stand firm in your value, you don't have to beg or plead for him to chase. You naturally create the conditions where he feels compelled to. Now, don't confuse this with being rigid or playing hard to get. It's not about games. It's about clarity. You're saying, "This is how I live. This is how I expect to be treated. And if you want to be a part of my life, I expect you to show up at that level." A man who's worth it will respect that. A man who isn't will walk away. And honestly, both outcomes serve you, because either way, you win. When you stop lowering your bar just to keep someone around, you force the right people to rise, and you filter out the ones who are never going to anyway. That's how you create a dynamic where the chase isn't something you beg for. It's something he willingly gives because he sees your value and knows it's not negotiable. And that is exactly what makes him pursue you with the energy and respect you've deserved all along. One of the hardest lessons to learn in love is detachment, because when you care about someone, when you've invested time and emotion, your natural instinct is to hold on tight. You want to make sure the connection doesn't slip away. You want to control the outcome, to secure the guarantee that he'll be there tomorrow. But here's the truth: the tighter you cling, the faster it slips through your fingers. Real power, real attraction, comes from letting go of the need to control what happens and focusing instead on who you are regardless of what he chooses to do. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you release the pressure of the outcome. It's shifting from, he has to come back, he has to chase me, he has to choose me, to, I'm going to be okay whether he does or not. That mindset is magnetic. Because when you're no longer tied to whether he texts you back, whether he calls, whether he shows up, you carry yourself differently, you walk lighter, you feel freer, and that freedom is exactly what draws him closer. Think about it. If every interaction with him is laced with expectation, waiting to see if he measures up, waiting to see if he gives you what you want, then the energy between you becomes heavy. He feels the pressure, even if you don't say it out loud. And men don't chase pressure, they chase peace. They chase lightness. They chase the woman who seems to already be full, who isn't demanding he complete her, who isn't constantly keeping score. That's why detachment is so powerful. It shifts the energy back in your favor, because now you're not operating from fear, you're operating from strength. You've probably seen this play out before. The moment you stop obsessing over him, suddenly he starts noticing you again. The moment you get busy with your own life, his phone call comes through. The moment you stop pushing, he starts pulling. That isn't magic, that's energy. People can sense when you're clinging, and they can sense when you've let go. And the irony is, it's in the letting go that you create the very space for him to chase you. But here's the part most people don't want to face. Detachment means being okay with both outcomes. It means being strong enough to say, if he comes back, great. If he doesn't, I'll still be fine. That's not weakness, that's strength. That's knowing your worth isn't tied to whether or not he chooses you. That's reclaiming your power instead of handing it over to someone else. And men respect that. They respect a woman who knows she's whole without them. They respect a woman who doesn't beg, doesn't force, doesn't settle. That kind of confidence is irresistible. So stop waiting on the result and start focusing on the process of becoming the best version of you. Because when you detach from whether or not he chases, you open yourself up to something much more important. You open yourself up to peace. You stop living in constant anxiety over what he's going to do next, and you start living in the security of knowing you can handle whatever comes. And that kind of strength, that's what pulls him in. That's what makes him chase, and that's what makes him realize that if he wants to keep you, he has to step up. Because the moment you stop needing him to choose you is the very moment he realizes just how badly he wants to. When you think back to the beginning of your relationship, what was it that kept the chase alive? It wasn't just attraction. It wasn't just chemistry. It was the spark, the playfulness, the light teasing, the thrill of not knowing exactly what was going to happen next. That's what made him lean in, what made him excited to see you, what made every interaction feel like an adventure. Somewhere along the way, though, life got serious. Responsibilities piled up. Conversations shifted from laughter and curiosity to routines and checklists. And without even realizing it, The dynamic became flat. The chase faded, not because the feelings disappeared, but because the excitement did. This is where playfulness comes in. Men chase what feels fun, what feels challenging, what wakes them up from the monotony of everyday life. If all he gets from you now is stress, complaints, or predictable exchanges, he doesn't feel compelled to chase. But when you bring back that energy of lightheartedness, that little edge of unpredictability, it sparks something in him that makes him want to pursue you all over again. Playfulness isn't about acting immature or ignoring problems. It's about not letting the relationship drown in seriousness. It's sending a witty reply instead of a long complaint. It's teasing him lightly in a way that makes him grin. It's letting him wonder what you're up to instead of handing him every detail of your day. That playful energy shifts the atmosphere between you. Suddenly, he's leaning in. He's curious again. He's reminded of the woman who once made him laugh so hard he couldn't help but chase her. And let's talk about challenge for a moment. People misunderstand this word. They think challenge means playing games, withholding love, or making things unnecessarily difficult. That's not it at all. Challenge simply means you're not easy to win over every single time. It means you're not just rolling over and accepting whatever crumbs of effort he decides to give. It means that even when he shows up, he still has to keep showing up if he wants to keep your attention. That kind of challenge doesn't push him away. It motivates him. Men are wired to rise to a standard, to pursue what they feel isn't guaranteed. When you give him that balance of fun and challenge, he can't help but feel like he's got something valuable to work for. Think of it like this. If he already knows exactly how every interaction with you is going to go, there's no incentive to chase. But if you're light, fun, unpredictable in the best way, and still holding your standards, you create a dynamic where he's constantly reminded why he wants to pursue you. You're not just another obligation in his life. You're the spark, the energy, the challenge that makes him feel alive again. So don't underestimate the power of a little laughter, a little teasing, a little mystery mixed in with strength. Because when he feels that combination, playfulness that keeps him smiling, challenge that keeps him on his toes, he's not going to drift away. He's going to lean in harder, chase stronger, and fight to keep that energy close. And that's when the chase stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like excitement again. Here's the part that really matters: consistency. Because making him chase you again isn't the hardest part. The hardest part is keeping him chasing once he does. Too many times, the moment a man starts putting in the effort again, the moment he leans back into the pursuit, we get comfortable. We think, okay, it worked. I've got him back. And then all the standards, all the mystery, all the energy we built up slowly begin to fade. And that's where the cycle repeats. He feels like the challenge is gone, like the spark has settled back into predictability, and the chase disappears all over again. Consistency is what separates temporary attraction from lasting pursuit. When you show him that your value doesn't fluctuate depending on his behavior, when you stay steady in the way you carry yourself, it sends a clear message. This isn't just a phase. This is who I am. That's powerful. Because men respect what feels steady, not what feels like a game. They may enjoy the thrill of the chase at first, but what keeps them chasing long-term is knowing that the same energy, the same standard, the same sense of worth is always present. Think about it. If you raise your standards for a few weeks just to get his attention, but then slowly start slipping back into old habits, what do you think he learns? He learns that the effort was temporary. That all he had to do was show up for a short burst, win you back, and then everything would go back to the way it was. But when you're consistent, when you show him through your actions that the bar isn't dropping this time, he realizes that if he wants to keep you, he has to keep showing up. That's when the chase becomes ongoing, not just a one-time event. Consistency also protects you because it's easy to fall back into old patterns once you get what you want. It's easy to say yes too quickly again, to make yourself too available again, to stop prioritizing your own life because now he's giving you the attention you craved. But when you remember that the point was never just to make him chase, the point was to remind yourself of your worth, you don't let those patterns return. You keep your balance. You keep your focus. You keep doing the things that make you magnetic, whether he's chasing or not. And here's the secret. When he sees that you're consistent, he starts to feel secure in his pursuit. It's not about guessing which version of you he's going to get. It's about knowing that the same confident, centered, high-val you woman he chased at the start is the same one standing in front of him today. That steadiness makes the chase sustainable, because now he knows it's not just about winning you back, it's about keeping up with you. So don't let the excitement of his renewed pursuit make you drop the very qualities that brought it back in the first place. Stay consistent. Keep your standards. Keep your mystery. Keep your playfulness. Keep your detachment from the outcome, because when you hold that line, you don't just make him chase you again. You make him realize that chasing you is the only way to keep you.